Hey guys, and welcome back to Electrix Moto. Today we have the E-Ride Mini up on 2 stands, and we're going to talk about some of the parts that we were able to make fit this bike. We did this as a replica to our Ironman 3.0 build. Just because why not? It's just like a mini version of the 3.0. So what I'm gonna do is talk about all the parts, what we were able to make fit, and then in the next video, we'll finally get this thing out and we'll test it against the RTR and the Sur-Ron Hyper-B, and we're gonna see exactly what this thing can handle now that it's in its proper form and ready to ride. All right, real quick before we jump into all the parts, what I wanna talk about is the looping wire that you have underneath your battery compartment area. Much like the 2.0 and the E-Ride Pro S, you do have your looping wire that's down here underneath where your ignition is. If you pull that out and disconnect it, you will unlock this bike's full power. We took it out into the parking lot and we were riding it around, and I was like, what is going on? It seemed very slow and I was really underwhelmed by its power, and then I remembered that that looping wire is probably connected. So if you're gonna unlock this bike, or if you have a small kid that's gonna be riding this bike and you just want them to get comfortable on it, keep that connector connected. If not, and you have somebody that knows how to ride, or you're an adult and you want a mini, this is the mini you choose. Make sure you disconnect that thing right away so you can get this bike's full power. Otherwise, it's really not that fun. Okay, so now let's talk parts. What were we able to get fit? Well, if you watched our first video, then you know that we had kind of already assessed the bike and what was gonna be capable, or what we were gonna be able to mount up to this bike. So much like every other build that we do, we just duplicated our Ironman build, and that's our 3.0. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here somewhere so you can watch it, or I'll put it in the description. And that's our 3.0 Ironman build, and we just kind of replicated that. We did things a little bit differently, but it's gonna be cool to have both of these bikes together. They look very similar. So what we did is we put the Warp 9 Elite foot pegs down on the foot peg brackets. The bracketry sizing is all the same. So you will be able to fit just about any E-Ride Pro foot peg on to this bike right away. Another thing that we always do is we did the Warp 9 bar mount. That Warp 9 bar mount mounts directly to the triple clamp. And it's just really nice that they kept all the sizing the same. So I'm sure from a factory perspective, it's good for them, because then they can use multiple parts across multiple bikes, makes manufacturing and assembly a lot easier. And it also makes everything really easy for the aftermarket. So we did go with the Warp 9 bar mount. Obviously the Warp 9 bars. What I will say about the Warp 9 bars is they seem a tad longer than the factory bars that come on the E-Ride Pro Mini. So it really does like widen your arms out a lot. I'm not sure how much I like it, but like I said, I haven't ridden this bike enough to be able to tell if that's going to be a problem or not. I will possibly be chopping maybe a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch off these bars on either side, just to bring them in a little bit, just to kind of make everything a bit more narrow. Because it is a small bike, the really wide bars is not too much of an issue, just because, you know, especially if you're an adult riding it, you don't really need that much of surface area to grab onto. So it's something that we may do, it's something that we may not, I don't really know. But for right now, we're gonna keep it in this form so we can ride it and see how it performs, and then we'll come back to the table and see what we wanna do then. The other thing is the Warp 9 stem lock. It's just a better locking mechanism, in my opinion, than the one that comes from the factory. And when you change your bar mount to a Warp 9 bar mount, you no longer have the functionality of the old bar mount. So you have to change your stem lock. Even if I didn't have to change the stem lock, I probably still would, just because it provides a more firm grip and it just keeps everything compacted better. It's a personal opinion, it's personal preference. If that's not something you want to do, you don't want to go with a stem lock, then you're going to need to not go with the Warp 9 bar mount, simply because it's not all going to work that way. Now, this definitely opens up the cockpit a bit. I have not gotten into lowering these foot pegs, because in order to get to the bolts behind the foot peg bracket, it appears that it's going to be quite hard to get my hands in there to get that bolt off, to drop it down to the appropriate part, or the appropriate part of the bike. It's really tight in there. Obviously it's a mini, everything is stuffed in, even more compact than their bigger bikes. So trying to get your hands underneath and in there around the chain, it's kind of a pain. So I have not done that yet, but before we actually start riding it seriously, I will take the time to take the rear wheel off and the chain off if I have to get to that, so we can make this bike just feel a little bit better. You know, standing up on a small Moto like this, it really throws you off balance. So anything that we can get to drop our feet and just give us a better center of gravity on a small bike like this, we're definitely going to take advantage of doing. If you notice, we have not put the gut seat cover on yet. We do have that, and we will be putting that on as well. And especially on these small bikes, I love them on all bikes. The gut seat covers are just my favorite seat cover. It's a personal preference. Again, some people like thrill seekers, some people buy their covers off Amazon. It doesn't matter where you get them. Some are better than others, of course, but it just is such a better way to grip the seat when you have a gut seat cover, and it just makes it more comfortable, especially on these small bikes. Like I was saying, like you really have to lean these things over when you're trying to take turns and you're trying to do jumps. So anything that you can do to give yourself a little bit extra grip is definitely something I would recommend doing. Now let's talk about some other parts. I'm gonna kind of spin this bike around, and then we'll look at some of the things I'm thinking about doing to kind of give this thing a little bit more torque, and I'll explain my reasoning here in a minute. All right, so before we dive into the Sprocket conundrum, I want to talk about the ASV levers, because we just got these in for both the eRide Pro 2.0 and the eRide Pro S. And you'll notice when you get your Mini, if you have any of those other bikes or you've seen those other bikes, the eRide Pro S, Mini, and 2.0 all share the same exact brake lever. So what that tells me is the ASV levers that are for the 2.0 and the S model of eRide Pro will also fit on the Mini. I'm not sure if you have them or you have even seen that these breakaway levers exist, but these things are really nice because you can't break them. So, well, you could, I'm sure you definitely can, but they bend when you wreck, and you know how you break off your brake levers, all of that just kind of goes away because these bend out when you take a fall. And especially on these small bikes, because you're already so close to the ground, you don't fall very far, but when you do fall, you're definitely dragging your bars, especially with bars this wide. So your brake levers are probably what's going to go first. But I will put the link to these in the description. If you have a Mini, an S, or a 2.0, these will all work. We have multiple colors, but it's a new piece of like that Electrix Moto build package that we're going to start doing, because one of the things that we replace the most outside of rear brake pads is brake levers, because people tend to wreck, scratch them up, blow them off, and then we are stuck replacing them on a regular basis. So I think this will be a good way to save people a lot of time and money in the future by just investing a small amount of money into like the longevity of their motorcycle. All right, so let's talk Sprocket conundrum. The reason I'm kind of unsure of what to do here is simply because when you see the RTR, a lot of people, I've gotten comments and questions about the RTR being faster. Yes, the RTR top speed is definitely faster than the eRide Pro Mini. It's also easier to pop up. And the reason it's easier to pop up is because it has a massive rear sprocket on there. So obviously you have all that torque immediately, so you're able to pop your wheelies up and you're able to get out of corners quicker. Now, the Sur-On Hyper-B and the eRide Pro Mini both share a very similar rear sprocket size, which keeps the top end higher and the low end lower. So what I want to do is I want to make this a little bit quicker out of the corners. I want to make it a little bit faster initially so you can pull your wheelies. Not that this can't pull wheelies already, but I think that initial burst is what's most important, not so much top speed on a Mini. I think the bigger bikes, top speed is more important than on the smaller bikes. So that's my personal thing, but I am going to try to find a bigger sprocket. I don't even know what size this is. I don't think it even says it on there what size it is, but it looks small. So we are going to try to really beef up that rear sprocket, find something that works. My assumption is a eRide rear sprocket from Warp 9 or from eRide off of a factory bike, a 58 tooth sprocket will probably fit on here. We will need to get a different chain because there's so much more diameter in that sprocket. So I'm not gonna get into that today or tomorrow, but it's something we are gonna take a look at and try to figure out a way to give this a little bit more power off the line. And I think that's what a lot of people want with the minis, is just a really big initial burst of power. For me, I don't have really any interest in going 60 miles an hour on one of these little bikes, especially those little tires. You just don't have enough protection from big rocks and things like that. So for me, it's more about how fast can we make this bike initially. But before we do any of that, we will test all of these bikes against each other, bring you a nice minis shootout so we can see who's the king of the minis in their stock form. All right, so that is it on the Mini for today. We have done pretty much all that we can do to this thing. We are gonna get our gut seat cover put on today. We're gonna get our new brake levers put on, and then once that's done, we'll be able to see how this bike sits and then be ready to actually test it against the other bikes we have sitting around. If you have any questions about the E-Ride Mini, when you can get one, where you can get one, leave those in the comments or give the shop a call. I'll try to put all that information in the description. I know I forget sometimes, but I will put all the links that we have on this bike as well in the description. So if you're looking to kind of build out your Mini to customize it the way you want, this is a good place to start. By no means do you have to do it or have to buy it from us. If you would, that'd be great. If not, that's okay too, as long as you get what you want. That's what's most important. So I'm gonna get to work, get this bike built, and I'll see you guys on the next one.